You're listening to the Craig Hartsburg edition upload of the Game Sports Show, powered by Northern Superior Brewing Company and Icebreaker Sports Bar and Grill. The Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show with Craig Hartsburg, bringing you additional hockey news both locally and professionally. Craig and Dave coming to you live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Booyah, and welcome to the Game Sports Show, a special edition upload of the Game Sports Show featuring Craig Hartsburg. As promised with the Game Sports Show, we're going to be having special edition uploads with the one and only Craig Hartsburg, talking about local hockey and also some professional hockey, especially in terms of his top 5 NHL Power Rankings. You're listening to the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show on thegamesportshow.com, thegamesportshow.podbean.com, or on the Scott Nason YouTube channel. Now we're just going to dive right into it right now, and I'm going to introduce Craig. Craig, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Awesome. It's a snowy one out in Sault Ste. Marie. I know we were talking before we went on air there that, I think the news was a little bit incorrect yesterday, about a couple centimeters. Seems like we got even more than a foot or something out there.
Yeah, well, we got a lot more snow out here than I thought we were going to get. I woke up this morning and knew I had some work ahead of me, but that's part of the agony and the pleasure of living in Sault Ste. Marie. You get to enjoy the outdoors, but there's some work involved. So.
Oh, yeah. Lots. And now you can look outside, and I currently myself have a living situation of living in an apartment, so it's kind of covered for me that I don't have to shovel or do a driveway, but I definitely got to check up on my father to make sure that if he doesn't need some help, because he has a big driveway out in the west end of Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. And when it comes to the heavy snow, we get some heavy snow and lots out here, and you know what, it's the beauties of living in Canada, I guess you can say. There's a pros and cons. I find it a con because I really love the hot weather.
We enjoy both, and actually I'm pretty lucky. My wife is she's a big helper. She loves getting out and shoveling and being outside in it. So
yeah,
we get the 2-on-1 anyways, and it's not just not me. She's a big help. So we actually had a good morning. It was good to get outside and get some fresh air.
That's awesome. And Craig, I'm very excited that you're going to be able to do these special edition uploads with the Game Sports Show on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, whatever kind of schedule we can connect with. These uploads are going to be either posted individually or they'll be combined with our Thursday Northern Superior edition of the Game Sports Show. It is Thursday, December the 6th. I do plan to do this as a private upload, though, and we're going to spend about 10-15 minutes just talking about topics that you want to bring to the table that we've already discussed before coming on air. And I know we have one big one that's going to probably eat up the majority of the 10-15 minutes here, so we're going to dive right into it. It's flat out the development for kids starting at the Pee Wee and the Sault Major Hockey Association. Now, we kind of did talk about this a little bit off air just to kind of get the ball rolling with it, but the development of the youth hockey, especially in the ages of 4, 5, 6, and 7, is imperative to keep the kids interested, right? That's kind of the big thing is, and also the one big thing that I felt has been a big issue in the development of the kids hockey is the fees. And I'm not really going to expand on that as much as of yet. I want you to dive right into the topic, discussing with the development for kids.
Well, it's been interesting for me. It's been about a year and a half that I've been involved in the coach mentorship part, trying to help the coaching situation here in the Sioux, and working with some kids or some young coaches, and so I've seen a lot, and I kind of went into it blind. My grandsons are obviously playing at the Pee Wee, so I'm around the Pee Wee quite a bit with them, and again, so I think I've seen some things and noticed some things. I think that we here in the Sioux, I think we really can be on the cusp of doing some good things. I look at the younger groups at the Pee Wee that are starting to come through, and we do have some real strong groups. Starting at the 7, 8, 9-year-old, 10-year-old groups. And I think we can even do more to help that foundation. I think again, looking at models in the U.S. and even Southern Ontario, I believe that we can catch up and do some things a little bit different here in the Sioux that will help make our program stronger and better. And at the end of the day, trying to keep kids in the game because they love the game longer. And we're not talking about trying to make NHL players or OHL first-round picks. We just want our kids to love playing the game, and I think the development part is obviously huge. Anytime you're good at something or better at something, you enjoy it. It's whatever sport or whatever thing in life. If you have a good foundation, you're gonna enjoy coming to the rink or going to the golf course or going to the baseball field. And I think that we're doing some good things, but I think there's a whole lot of room for improvement. You know, starting at the Pee Wee and then right through some major. And that's not to criticize anybody, because I think we've got a great group of volunteers that are involved in it, that are trying to help. But I think if we looked at a few areas that we can address, and I think it starts right at the Pee Wee. Really, I think there has to be. My feeling is there has to be somebody that's totally in charge of running the hockey department. I think there's a lot of good people that are trying to get the administration part under control, but when you look at who is actually running the hockey, they need to develop. To me, it should be a full-time position. I think they'll have to look at hiring a hockey person that's going to be in charge of hockey development and director of hockey operations at the Pee Wee. And it starts at the Timbits and work whenever the kids are through at the Pee Wee level. Then I think they'll have a better grasp, better foundation when they're ready for Sioux Major. And it's what organizations are doing in the South. It's what organizations are doing in the U.S. They run it like a business where somebody's in charge. Somebody's going to make hockey decisions. And right now, I don't believe that they're capable of doing that. But I do believe that they should be looking for somebody that would run the hockey program, which would oversee a lot of different things: the coaching, what kind of development are our young kids getting at this point. And I'd look at, and I've seen some great practices, and I've seen some other practices where you just wonder how much we've been able to help all the coaches in the Sioux. I think the elite coaches, the AAA coaches, the AA coaches, I think there's been some foundation for those guys, but I think there's got to be a bigger reach out to try to help our host league, our A coaches, so that again they give our kids the foundation that they need to enjoy the game.
See, the big thing that that we discussed this was the fees is something that really sticks out to me. Was I thought the beginning issue. Now, that maybe be the cop way out, people like to say. I've been told that that's kind of a way that shouldn't be an excuse. But I was actually, before we went on air, was texting my mother about the fees. And not to really throw her under the bus, but she kind of gave me a rough estimation of how much she had to pay just for me to play hockey. And it was, let's just say, not as much. I believe she was saying it was around maybe $500 a year back when I was younger. To play hockey at the Pee Wee, for example, but then it went up each year, obviously, from when I was playing. Now, obviously, from what I'm being told, you're starting off in almost the thousands.
I'm not sure that's 100% right at the Timbits level and the Tyke and novice. I don't know. I don't have it 100% what it is, but I don't believe that the Timbits kids are paying $1,000 to play hockey.
No.
But whatever they're paying, it's a significant amount. And I guess the question I asked for if it is $500 or $600, what do you get for that? It's,
yeah.
You're basically getting ice time and a jersey. There's nothing else that you can be guaranteed that you're going to get. We can't guarantee. They can't guarantee every kid is going to get real good development. They can't guarantee that they're going to get a really good coach. You're going to get some people that are going to pour their heart into it, but do they have the knowledge? That's not a guarantee. And I think that starting at the Pee Wee, there has to be a better focus on helping our coaches, on helping those coaches that are volunteering to coach our maybe the most important years of a hockey player at 4, 5, 6, and 7. And that's why I think there has to be a position at the Pee Wee where they look to invest some money in somebody that can, on a day-to-day basis, put a hockey program together for all these young kids. Somebody that would overlook every practice plan, somebody that would overlook, making sure that the focus is in the right area, especially at the younger age on skating. And right now I think we're putting some coaches in some really tough positions, really, to tell you the truth, to go out there and run a 4 or 5 year old or 6 year old practice with not a lot of help. And so again, this may sound like I'm picking, but I think that when you look at it, there's so much. The positive, there's some real room for growth, and we just have to start to think aggressively and outside the box. And again, it's so our kids will love to come to the rink. I look at a place like KBX. Kenny Boulanger has an unbelievable facility in the Sioux, second to none as far as hockey training. And I think it's so underutilized by our team. I know there's individuals that will go there for individual, but my grandson's team has been there a couple times, and it's a great experience. They work on puck handling, and it's all dry land stuff that they come out of there and they have a blast. But I think between the Pee-wee and Sioux Major, these are the areas that I think that everybody's got to put their heads together and say, okay, how can we make this experience for our kids so much better, so much more positive, and at the end of the day, they're going to be better people, and they will be better players, which again will allow them to enjoy the game even more, whether it's at Tyke House League or Pee-wee AAA or whatever level it is. If we start this program early and bring up our kids, plus develop our young coaches at it, I think the whole picture in the Sault Ste. Marie will become a lot more positive. And I look at the older teams, the midget teams obviously is probably a sore point in the whole city, but those age groups are, especially the major midgets, that's a product of probably 8 years of playing through this system where they haven't probably had the proper development. And now they get to the midget level, and other places are ahead. North Bay is probably ahead, and Sudbury is probably a very similar place where we are at. And you hear all the stories at that level, and it's unfortunate. And so the goal really for Sault Ste. Marie minor hockey starting in the Pee-wee is to make sure that our kids that are starting young, when they get to the midget program, they don't go to the high school hockey league that really is not a great level of play, so that we get more kids that are going to stay in a competitive league and have fun doing it. I know there's a huge cost for the parents, and they get tired of spending money, and I understand that, and I can understand the kids that are playing midget this year, and parents that are paying the bill that are probably thinking we're tired of this. But we've the focus on our younger kids is trying to find ways to make sure that when they get to that level, they're still loving being part of the program, and they're learning about life and discipline and hard work and all those things as they're going through it. So again, once they get through to the midget level, they're still enjoying being part of a AAA program.
See, that's so big, and even with the programs, I'll give credit to the volunteers in Sault Ste. Marie is something I've been actually pretty impressed with.
It's unbelievable. These people, they put a lot of time in, and I just think that there has to be more support for them. There has to be more help so that these guys learn at a younger age. And again, if there is somebody they hire that can oversee this, and then they can reach out to people that have the knowledge to come in and help these guys. Like myself, I'm more than willing to help coaches, and we've tried to do our best with the coach mentorship program. But there's other people in the Sioux that can, that we need to get more hockey people involved, so that their knowledge, whether they've played in Europe, whether they've played OHL, whether they've played in the NHL, there's people in the Sioux that aren't involved in hockey that you certainly want to see involved, because because I think it'll make the game better and help our kids.
Yeah.
So again, the parents, and I'm a parent, I'm sitting there looking at it too, and I'm saying, okay, if I'm realistic, I'm not hoping my kid's going to play in the NHL, or I'm not even hoping he's going to be an OHL star, but you just want him to have a good, positive experience. You want him to learn about life. You want him to learn about, the good things that are going to happen to you. There's also going to be some adversity that you're going to have to deal with, and and you have to be able to get through those things. And I think that's what hockey should be about, and not just, okay, we're not happy because we're losing, or we're not happy because my kid's not scoring. Well, look at the other side. How can we learn from those situations so that your young kids are going to grow through the sport, and then again, once they're done minor hockey, they've had a good foundation in their life. Sports, and then schooling and parenting, all those things will come into effect as well. But we want to try to make that experience, starting from 4-year-old to 17 years old, a growing experience for our kids, and we all have to help make that happen.
See, the big thing about the hockey programs too is that, yes, being interested in the sport and even just being active, playing in the program itself, but you also develop these youths to be better people growing up too, and being around. The best friends that I have are because of hockey. And you grow up and you go to school and you have friends, and it doesn't matter if you play hockey, baseball, or football, or if you don't even play sport at all. If it goes to that point, you're still going to have friends. But you get to the point where when you have that extra activity, that's where you got to look at for that fun side of things. It's where you make friends, and that's where kids have that fun. They want to be there more because of not just wanting to escape, but being there with people that they want to be around. And as you get older, you grow up with your friends, quote unquote, and you play against your friends, quote unquote, and just that competitiveness, and that's where that edge was in Sault Ste. Marie before. I feel that when you look at the hockey programs and from before to now, the winningness, I feel, was like higher, and I don't mean that by any disrespect to the talent that's on the ice right now, though. But when you had a AAA team like the Sault Ste. Marie North Stars before that went 30-4-2 or something on the season, and they went all the way to the All Ontarios and won. Then they go all the way to the TELUS Cup and the All Canadas, and you win that. Or when you have the AAA team winning the NOHAs from the Pee Wees, like the AA team, from Sioux Major, or from Pee Wees, when they would win basically all the tournaments. It was always between the Sioux, Sudbury, and even Blind River was in there. Blind River always had good youth as well. So it feels like from what it used to be to now.
I think one of the things in Sioux right now is everybody's looking at the midget programs and thinking that minor hockey is in shambles. And it's not really. I spent last weekend with my grandson's team as a grandpa, not as a coach, and watched them win the Silver Sticks in Sudbury. As they were 8 years old, I watched the 9-year-old team play, and they played very well. They lost in the semifinals, 1-0 to Ottawa team. So our young teams are right where they should be, and I think that we have to make sure that we're helping develop not only those groups, but even the groups underneath them. The teams that are so-called A level or whatever at the Pee Wee, we have to do a better job of helping those kids and those teams. So every year there's more kids competing for spots, and then making sure that as these kids grow through the program, their progression is steady. And for whatever reason, there's some drop-offs at the older ages. I think and there's always going to be a year that maybe your team's not as good as Sudbury or North Bay. That's just part of life. But again, I think we have to focus on our kids learning, developing, loving the game, and making it a great experience from the associations right through to the coaching staffs. And there's always issues with at some level. You hear some horror stories, but again, the program, if it's run right from the bottom, there should be a lot less issues as these kids get older. And again, I think at the Pee Wee, that's where I'd love to see them hire a full-time director of hockey operations that would oversee the development, the practice planning, the running of the Timbits program, so our kids get the right start. And I know the Sioux Greyhounds I'm on the board with the Sioux Greyhounds, and we would like to be a lot more involved. We donated quite a bit of money to the local hockey organization through the 50-50 draw, and in the past the money has just been handed over, and we really haven't paid a lot of attention. I think now we want to make sure that the money is used in the right way, the development for our kids, because we feel that we have a stake in it, and it's not that we're going to demand things, but we certainly want to see that the kids are enjoying the game, as a Greyhound brand, and some of these teams are wearing our jerseys, which we feel is very important, and that'll continue. We just want to make sure that things are going in the right direction. And like I said, the positive thing for me, I look at the whole thing, there's so much room for growth here, and if we can get people to jump in and help out. And again, I think it starts with the Pee-wee trying to look at how we can improve our foundation of our game for our kids.
Yeah, it's definitely on the different side of what it used to be, but with the help of individuals like yourself and also great volunteers that we have at the helm and the people that are available in Sault Ste. Marie, like we can name people here and obviously I'm not going to throw anybody out there, but we have the people available, I feel, to have that type of position of the.
I commend everyone that volunteers their time to coach young hockey players, and I just think the organizations have to do a better job to help those guys improve as young coaches, and which I think is the job of the organization. It's not just putting a guy in charge of a team and not knowing if he can actually coach or not. It's just help him.
Yeah.
Put some programs together that I think before we even start, we need to do some on-ice sessions with our coaches so that they have an understanding of how to run a proper practice, how to make the drills flow from one to the other, how to keep that pace. We can talk about it with them, but I think now we've got to take some steps and put some on-ice things, and that starts with the organizations wanting to do it. And there's lots of people that are good coaches will be more than willing to help some of these younger coaches that are coaching in the host league, so that again they see and they can see some of the things that have to be done, and it's not just the drills itself, it's just how to put the drill in place, how to get the kids moving in a practice. And I had one coach tell me, well, kids don't like to come to practice at Pee-wee level, and I was like, and he started blaming the parents, he started blaming the kids, and I said, you know what, it's probably your practice.
Yeah.
Practice is probably not. It's probably boring. It's probably not They're not interested in it. So, if you're 10 years old, why would you want to go to practice if it's not any good? So, if you're not enjoying it, so the coach's job is to try to make those practices upbeat, enjoyable, and at the same time, there's skill development, and the kids are having fun coming to the rink.
That is for sure, and that's the practice component of it is what keeps the kids or the youth, whatever the age group may be, engaged and interested to continue to play. And
yeah, they all want to play. Everybody, if the puck drops in a game, they all want to play a game. But I think there has to be the practices have to be so much fun, and at the same time, there's drills that our kids are doing. They don't even know they're getting better, but it's just some organization, and again, I think there's ways to help our young coaches, and instead of just talking to them now, I think the next step is the Pee-wee and the Sioux Major have to put some programs together so that we actually can go on the ice, and we've got some real good young coaches that can show some of the other coaches, how to run a proper practice, how to work on skating drills and puck handling drills, so that it's the whole organization we're helping, not just a small group of coaches.
See, one thing that I liked to hear when I can remember hearing, which was about maybe almost a decade ago now, this is back when I was starting to get into the junior ranks, was the quote-unquote, they used to call Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, this guy that was involved in the media in Southern Ontario said to me, Sault is known as Little Hockey Town, Ontario. That's what he knew it as, and that's one thing that maybe people turn away from it now, and things do change. But it'd be great to get the Sioux back to that recognition.
Yeah, and we can. There's, I think, obviously there's, and I talked about Kenny Belange's facility is a place where I highly recommend every team to go once a week with their kids, whether they're 7, 8 years old. They'll have a blast there. They'll be doing stick handling. They'll be shooting. They'll be doing some sprints, some stuff that is going to make them better athletes. And I think that should be the focus as much as just making better hockey players.
Yep, Ken Belanger, someone who also is a part of the show as a sponsor as well, has definitely done great. He has a fantastic facility. I couldn't agree with Craig anymore with that for sure. Now, Craig, any more final thoughts with the youth hockey before we go into our NHL Power Rankings before we let you go?
No, I think it's a process. I've kind of watched and seen some things and tried to help in situations, but there's a lot of work to do. But there's great people involved. I think we just have to everybody has to keep trying to work together and help each other. And I think to me, if they can, and again, I think the programs in Southern Ontario, they have full-time people, and obviously our resources aren't probably as high as in the financial part as they have down south, but we can certainly put somebody in place that is really going to direct the hockey operations at the Pee Wee. I believe that's an area that should be first and foremost. That there's a focus and somebody that has the knowledge and that will direct on a daily basis on how these teams are run and how these levels are run is I think very important.
For sure, I couldn't agree more. And hey, any coaches or any other individuals in Sault Ste. Marie that know as much as Craig does when it comes to this, definitely you can reach out to myself or reach out to somebody, and we'll point you in the right direction to talk if you want to get involved and help with youth hockey in Sault Ste. Marie. Now, Craig, getting into the NHL Power Rankings. This is definitely something I kind of threw right at you that I really preferred you to do before the end of each segment that we do with you. It's been a very, let's say, interesting season thus far up to point. We're just almost at the third point, almost there, or even just getting there now of the season. And it seems like just yesterday that puck drop happened in the National Hockey League. But, it's been a very exciting season throughout. And obviously a big drama with the Toronto Maple Leafs was William Nylander. There was, there's been just kind of some coaching changes. Been a lot of change in the National Hockey League just in a few months. Yeah. But getting to the...
We talked about the coaching changes a few weeks back.
Yeah.
And it's kind of been, there's been some time now, and I looked at the standings, the three teams that changed coaches in the West. Was it St. Louis, LA, Edmonton just changed, but there's somebody else. Chicago, and all three teams have floundered.
Yeah.
I take that as I like that. Because it's so easy for people to blame the coach and the coaching and at that level. And there's three teams that it hasn't helped them one bit. And
especially Chicago or St. Louis.
Exactly. It is what it is. At that level, it's maybe just I don't want to say an excuse, but I think they have to do, at some point, I guess teams have to do something for the media, they have to do something for the fans, and they're hoping that it will spark their team, but for the most part, you're firing a Joel Quenneville that has won 3 Stanley Cups, that you're not going to find somebody that's going to come in there and do a better job. So,
no.
So anyways, that was one little thing that I want to throw out there. I look at everybody, it seems like anybody that knows a little bit about hockey, as soon as the team starts to go around, the first thing they want to do is blame the coach because they think they know more than what that coach is actually. Meanwhile, he's getting paid millions of dollars to coach, so it's kind of funny.
No, and it's not the case, especially a good point about Joel Quenneville. That was one that definitely most surprised me, to be honest, and even the Edmonton Oilers with Todd McCullough, to be honest. But,
when I think when Edmonton there, I think what Hitch has done is Hitch has brought Hitch hockey to Edmonton, and he's tightened up the reins there on even McDavid. They're not winning 5-4 or 6-4 anymore. They're going to win hockey games 2-1 and 3-2, and eventually their offense will come back to them. But they needed to have a bigger focus defensively to get themselves in a position where they're hard to play against, and they don't have a fast, dynamic team other than the one guy, and so they had to change their focus, and I think Hitch has done a pretty good job of doing that right away. It's whether he can continue through the rest of the year and make the playoffs. That'll be the
that's big, is that defensive end that Hitch definitely will bring to that team. For the Power Rankings portion, top 5 for the Power Rankings that you have to date right now, Craig.
Well, my number one team still, you look in the league, is still Tampa. They, I think they have been probably the most consistent team through the year with, and they're not relying on just Stamkos. Stamkos actually has become a secondary player for him, believe it or not, and Braden Point has become, to me, their go-to guy along with Kucherov, and I like their defense. They're big, they're strong, they got some good experienced guys in the back end. And I just think their overall game, but this is nothing new for Tampa through the regular season. I think they've proven over the last couple of years they can be a great regular season team. The big question still for them will be, can some of those guys perform at the same level in playoffs, and that's where they haven't been able to do it. But right now I look at them as still the best team so far.
Now, with the going with the other 4, for second, third, fourth, and fifth, that's
well, Toronto obviously is, to me, is second. I think they're so explosive, and now adding Nylander back to the group, I think they'll continue to grow as a young team. But they're an explosive group. They're fun to watch. Their goaltending has been to me the best in the league. He's been the best goalie in the league so far.
By far.
As much as their offensive explosiveness with Matthews and Marner and then Riley on defense, I think they're still their best player all year has been their goalie. And but they're a good team. They're young. It'd be interesting to see as they go through the second part of the year that's where things start to change in the NHL, where things start to get tighter and the game starts to get harder. That'll be a big test for Toronto.
It'll be huge. Now who'd you have for third, fourth, and fifth?
Nashville for me is third.
Yep.
And they're a good team. They're experienced. They've been through some wars through the playoffs. I really like their defense, and their goaltending has been good, obviously. So I like them as the number 3. And number 4, I'm going with Colorado. I think they're
nice.
Again, when you look at their goals for, goals against differential, they're right up there. That one line is outstanding, but the rest of their group has, and it may not be in scoring, but they find ways every night to contribute, whether it's the checking part, the work part, the energy part. They're a fun group to watch too, and all these teams that are at the top for me, they play fast, they play a good two-way game, they play fast, and their special teams are all pretty good too. So Colorado before, and I kind of have a tie for 5th. I think Winnipeg and Calgary are, to me are right there. There's lots of teams that are close, but I think those 2 teams, they maybe have lacked a little bit of consistency, the 2 of them, but they're, Winnipeg to me is a playoff built team. They're big, strong, they got skill. Calgary's, again, they've changed their team over the course of the summer, where the question marks whether the changes would help, and I think they have. They've added more offense to their group, and I think they're playing with a lot of energy. And the question there is whether they can get that high end goaltending to carry them through some playoff rounds at the end. But I kind of have those 2 teams tied for, and then I would look at down the road, I guess Washington, which still looks like they're, even though they lost the last game or so. But that'd be my top 5. I guess it's 5-6 really, but some real good teams. They all have high-end talent. I think that's the one thing too, is their top-end players, and all those teams are they're the top-end players in the whole league, and when they're at their best, it's like the coaches always say, your best players have to be your best players, and that's what those teams are getting.
For sure, yeah. Tampa first, Toronto second, Nashville third, Colorado fourth, then a good tie between Calgary and Winnipeg for fifth. Paul Maurice from Sault Ste. Marie's and also listener of the show have had what we plan to have Paul on in the future. It'd be awesome if we had you on when we had Paul on too. Craig, that'd be a good discussion between two great coaches. Now, the power rankings couldn't agree more. I love the fact you mentioned Colorado. That's their line between Landeskog, Rantanen, and McKinnon is it's just absolutely disgusting. I like to use the word filthy, to be honest. That's
the. It'll be interesting again with that team because they deserve where they are right now. But as the season goes on, things get tighter.
Yeah.
It's always after Christmas, things will tighten up. And not to say teams haven't tried to stop that line. I think every night they probably go into a game where the focus for the other team is that line. But I think even more so after Christmas, where the points are so important. It'll be really interesting to see how they keep progressing. But so far, they've been their numbers. Those three guys it's incredible, really, what they've done. And again, strong, fast, big, that just play every night. And their best in Colorado, they can say it for sure. Their best players are their best players.
Well, absolutely. I have Nathan McKinnon, though, by far is one of the top three. I'm almost at the top three ranks in the National Hockey League. He is fantastic and something to watch. And it'll be interesting as Nylander returns to Toronto tonight as the Leafs are playing the Detroit Red Wings. Now, Craig, we're going to let you go. You and I, we like to, go into our overtime with time. I won't keep you any longer. We're going to be doing, like I said, editions either weekly, bi-weekly basis, or something that we can figure out just based on our schedules. You will be doing uploads, like I said, on this bi-weekly, weekly basis, talking about local sports or junior sports or even professional sports, just be random topics that we're going to be bringing to the table. Then obviously we'll have your power rankings at the end of each show. If you want to reach out to Craig, you comment below on the Podbean page or on the website, and I can definitely get the question directed right to Craig for you if you want to talk about these power rankings, as Craig is always open to discuss sports, much like myself and other panel members here on the Game Sports Show. Craig, I want to say thank you for coming on by and taking the time. We're definitely going to be in touch within the next week or so.
All right, thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Of course. We're going to wrap up this special edition segment of the Game Sports Show here. Don't forget to listen to previous editions of the Game Sports Show or future editions, obviously, as well. Keep an eye on our Podbean page, Instagram, or Facebook page for uploads. You've been listening to the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show with special guest Craig Hartsburg. Until next time, listeners, keep your stick on the ice, swing your bat, catch your touchdown, drain your threes, and shoot your shots. Booyah.